This morning, I was watching TV, and I was flipping back and forth between MSNBC and Fox, and I thought, let me just see what's going on here. So this was at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Jose Ballart, if I'm remembering his name correctly, I've only seen the show 2 or 3 times. I don't normally watch television at this time of day, and in fact, usually a whole long story, but anyway. So I was flipping back between him and whoever the woman is who does the show for Fox, and I'm forgetting her name altogether, at that time. And what I thought was interesting was the news at the very beginning. Fox went to their reporter on the scene in Ferguson. What happened last night? And he was like, "I'm out in front of City Hall here, and this is where the protesters tried to burn this police car." And they were showing on the screen, they were showing all the riot porn, as Catherine called it yesterday. And I agree. I think it's a great phrase. And, just going through, look at this, they were rocking this car last night. No. So then I flip back to MSNBC, and they go to their person on the ground, and who's one of the NBC reporters, it's a little higher up the food chain. SNBC network. He's actually and I can't remember his name. My apologies. I just I watch very little television, but in any case, he was live down in Ferguson, and he's saying, well, last night was quite peaceful, and there was a lot of peaceful protesters who showed up, and he went through like 2-3 minutes of what happened in Ferguson and who said this and that and the other thing, and then he said, in kind of a summary sentence, he said, and there was, a group of people who tried to flip over a police car and set it on fire last night, but they weren't successful. And they showed a little clip of that, of them trying to flip the car over. And then he said, but they weren't successful. And they come back to him. So it was like on Fox, it's like, oh my God, they're still rioting. And on MSNBC, it was like, hey, it was a calm evening. I mean, there was one exception, but it was a calm evening. We're making, serious, and people are having conversations about policing and about race all across the country, and literally from one coast to the other here in the United States. So anyhow, we're going to do Anything Goes Wednesday today. It's the holiday day. I know probably a lot of you are traveling, maybe listening to us on your car radio or Sirius XM. So any topic you'd like to talk about, feel free to give us a shout, and we'll get into it. But and Shane has been reading the transcripts. He's burrowing through these transcripts that the St. Louis County prosecutor district attorney has released, and it's increasingly, as I'm, he's sharing bits and pieces with me, it's increasingly obvious that when a witness said, Darren Wilson was right, that witness was treated with absolute kid gloves and total respect. And when a witness says Darren Wilson was wrong, that witness is treated like a hostile witness. In fact, sometimes tag teamed, good cop, bad cop, essentially cross-examined, interrogated, as opposed to simply presenting their information. And this, without asserting or trying to prejudice, are we sure we're connected on the air? Because nobody has called in. Okay, it must just be that a lot of people are traveling. Without trying to prejudice this at all, without the truth of the matter is, I don't have any idea, and neither do you, whether Darren Wilson was justified in shooting Michael Brown or not. My opinion, my personal opinion, is that he probably was not justified, and that more often than not, these police shootings are not justified. But that's just, that's reflecting my own personal bias. I realize, I've got some friends who are Fox News watchers. We run into them at the little clubhouse next door to our marina. In fact, that's where we watched the press release by the DA, and people who disagree with me, people who agree with me. I mean, there's a spectrum of opinion. But I think the important point, and the point that I'm trying to make, is that we don't know. And we don't know because there wasn't a process. I want to say a confrontational process. What's adversarial? Thank you, Shane. I knew there was a legal word for that. There was no adversarial process. There was no opportunity for anybody to actually cross-examine Darren Wilson. His testimony was received uncritically. Whereas, and by and large, that was true of all the witnesses who supported what Darren Wilson said. On the other hand, the witnesses who supported what the young fellow who was with Michael Brown said, they were essentially cross-examined. They were challenged. In fact, in one of the dialogues, one of the prosecutors said, "I'm not trying to say you're lying, but," and at the end, the witness says, "No, I was there. I'm telling you what I saw." So my point isn't Darren Wilson, Michael Brown, right or wrong. It's that our system is so badly broken that we don't know, and we will never know, in all probability, in this particular case. And that should never happen again in the United States of America. We need to have a process whereby when a police officer kills somebody, or for that matter, when a police officer behaves in a way that is highly inappropriate. I mean, from time to time, the vast majority of police interactions with the public and police activities are necessary, appropriate, good. I mean, but when it goes bad, and police officers have been accused of robbing people, of raping people, of just being bullies, that when those things happen, there should be a process where the police officer can be challenged that is adversarial, that is not that is not just like this, hey, let's have a friendly conversation here, by somebody who actually, who works for that police officer. The prosecutors work with the police officers. And we just don't have a system like that in the United States, and I think we need one. I think we need to be giving some really serious thought to this. What do we do about this? How do we do this? So, anyhow, your thoughts on this are more than welcome. I'm scratching my head about it. I think that, police review boards, community policing, the idea of having police departments represent, look like the community that they're part of. I mean, there's a bunch of things here that seem like they would be good first steps. It's 15 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.